She left me saying, "Let's stay best friends forever." I agreed completely. 2 months later, she realized friendship didn't cover her half of our mortgage, late-night crisis calls, or emergency babysitting, especially after I got engaged to her sister. The thing about carefully planned breakup speeches is that they always sound better in the person's head than they do out loud, especially when you can see them mentally rehearsing the words right before they speak. I'd been with Rebecca for 3 years, living in our modest townhouse in suburban Denver, building what I thought was a real partnership while working as a freelance software developer from the home office we'd set up together. She'd been working part-time at a boutique yoga studio called Lotus Flow, teaching maybe 15 classes a week, spending the rest of her time on Instagram planning her eventual transformation into a lifestyle influencer. It was a Thursday evening in early March when she dropped the bomb, right after I'd finished making dinner. I was loading the dishwasher when she walked into the kitchen with this expression I'd seen before, the one she wore when she was about to ask for something significant. "Tyler, we need to talk about us," she said, settling onto one of our kitchen bar stools. I turned off the faucet and dried my hands, already knowing this conversation wasn't going to be good. "Okay, what's on your mind?" She took a deep breath, her yoga instructor composure fully activated. "I've been doing a lot of soul-searching lately, really getting in touch with my authentic self. I feel like I've been living in this box, this conventional domestic life that doesn't align with my true purpose." I waited, watching her arrange her thoughts. "I need to rediscover myself," she continued. "I've decided to pursue my dream of becoming a lifestyle blogger full-time, really committing to building my brand. This is my calling, Tyler, and I can't ignore it anymore." There it was, the breakup wrapped in self-help language. I'd been subsidizing her part-time yoga career for 2 years, covering about 70% of our mortgage, all the utilities, her car insurance, and most of the groceries. "So you're saying you want to break up?" I said, cutting through the spiritual packaging. She looked slightly annoyed but recovered quickly. "I need space to focus on myself without the constraints of a committed relationship. But here's the thing, you're so important to me and I don't want to lose you from my life." I could see where this was heading. "I want us to stay best friends forever," she said, reaching across the counter to touch my hand. "Best friends who support each other, who are there for each other. Just without the pressure of being in a romantic relationship. Best friends forever." I understood exactly what she was proposing. She wanted the freedom to pursue whatever fantasy she'd constructed, probably including options to date other people, while keeping me available as her safety net, her problem solver for when adult responsibilities became too inconvenient. "Best friends," I repeated, letting the concept settle. "So you want all the emotional support and practical help, but none of the commitment." Her eyes flickered with irritation. "That's a pretty cynical way to look at it. I'm talking about maintaining our bond without the restrictions of traditional relationship expectations." I nodded slowly, feeling something click into place. For 3 years, I'd been bending myself to accommodate her needs, her dreams, her constant evolution. I'd been the stable one while she pursued enlightenment through expensive workshops I'd helped fund. And now she wanted to officially downgrade our relationship while maintaining access to my support. "You know what, Rebecca?" I said. "I think that's a great idea. Best friends forever sounds perfect." The relief that flooded her face was almost comical. She'd expected resistance, maybe begging, but here I was agreeing. "Really? Oh, Tyler, I'm so glad you understand." I smiled, genuinely. "I do get you, Rebecca. And I think this friendship is going to be exactly what we both need." She beamed, completely missing the shift that had occurred. She thought she'd won, thought she'd successfully kept me on the hook. What she didn't realize was that I'd just agreed to give her exactly what she asked for, nothing more and nothing less, and the difference between a romantic partner and a best friend was about to become very clear. The next morning, Rebecca knocked on my office door. "Hey, so I'm going to need you to cover the mortgage again this month. The studio cut my hours and I'm investing in this social media course." I looked up from my laptop. "Actually, as best friends, I think we should split everything 50-50 going forward. That's how roommates handle things." Her smoothie paused halfway to her lips. "What? Tyler, you know I can't afford half the mortgage. I'm building my business." Then I guess we should talk about selling the townhouse and splitting the proceeds. I can't subsidize your lifestyle anymore, Rebecca. Partners help each other financially, but best friends? Best friends pay their own way. The color drained from her face. You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to come up with an extra $1,200 a month? I shrugged. That's not really my problem anymore. You wanted friendship, not partnership. The next 72 hours were a masterclass in watching someone's fantasy collide with reality. Rebecca spent the weekend in barely contained panic, scrolling through apartment listings she couldn't afford, calculating budgets that didn't add up. I maintained my position with calm consistency. Monday morning, she cornered me before I'd finished my coffee. Tyler, we need to talk about this mortgage situation. There's just no way I can come up with that much money. Can we work out some kind of transition period? I took a sip of coffee. Sure. How about we list the house this week? Real estate market's pretty good, and we should close within 60 days. That gives you 2 months to figure out your next living situation. Her face went pale. List the house? Tyler, this is my home. I can't just move out and start over. Rebecca, you ended our relationship. We're not partners anymore, which means we don't co-own assets like this. I'm happy to split everything fairly, but I'm not going to continue subsidizing your lifestyle while you explore other romantic options. That's not what friends do. She stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. But where am I supposed to go? You might want to consider picking up more shifts at the studio or finding full-time work. Her expression shifted to anger. Full-time work? That would completely derail my content creation schedule. I can't build a successful platform while working 40 hours a week. I nodded sympathetically. That does sound challenging. But as your best friend, I believe in supporting your dreams while encouraging responsible choices. And responsible choices include paying for your own housing. She tried a different approach, softening into vulnerability. What about Lily? You've been like a father to her for 2 years and now you're just going to abandon her? And there it was, the nuclear option. Lily was Rebecca's 6-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, a sweet kid who'd wrapped herself around my heart. Her biological father was a deadbeat who'd vanished before she was born. For 2 years, I'd been Uncle Tyler, helping with homework, attending school performances, tucking her in when Rebecca was too busy. I loved that little girl, which made what I was about to say one of the hardest things I'd ever done. I have thought about Lily actually. As your best friend, I care about her well-being. But as someone who's not her parent or your partner, I can't continue being her primary caretaker. That responsibility falls to you as her mother. The triumph faded immediately. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying that I won't be available for school pickups anymore, or emergency babysitting, or weekend care. I'm not her parent, Rebecca. Now that we're just friends, those obligations don't exist. She literally stumbled backward. You can't be serious. Tyler, you love Lily. How can you just cut her out? I'm not cutting her out. If you want to arrange occasional visits as friends, that's fine. But the day-to-day parenting, the emergencies, the constant availability, that's not something friends provide. Her voice rose to hysteria. So what am I supposed to do when the school calls because she's sick? Or when I have a last-minute work commitment? I maintain my calm tone. You do what every single parent does. You figure it out. You build a support network, you hire babysitters, you make sacrifices. You be her mother instead of expecting me to fill that role. Rebecca was crying now, mascara running. This is so cruel. I never expected you to punish a child because you're mad at me. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm establishing appropriate boundaries for our friendship. If that feels like punishment, maybe it's because you were taking advantage before. The breaking point came the following Thursday when Lily's school called me at 2 in the afternoon. I was debugging code when my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail, but they called back immediately, then a third time. Finally, I answered. Mr. Brennan? This is Principal Anderson from Meadowbrook Elementary. We've been trying to reach Rebecca for the past hour. Lily fell on the playground and we think she may have broken her arm. We've called an ambulance to Denver General. My stomach dropped. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I found Lily in the pediatric emergency area, her face streaked with tears. When she saw me, she lit up despite the pain. "Uncle Tyler, you came." I sat beside her carefully. "Of course I came, sweetie. Let's get you fixed up." The next 3 hours were x-rays, consultations, watching Lily be brave while they set her broken radius and applied a bright purple cast. The whole time, I kept trying Rebecca's phone with no answer. Finally, at 5:30, Rebecca burst through the doors looking frazzled and furious. "Where is she? What happened? Why didn't anyone call me?" I stood up from where Lily had fallen asleep against my shoulder. "They called you about 40 times. So did I. You didn't answer." She looked embarrassed. "I was at an important networking event. My phone was on silent. How was I supposed to know?" "That's exactly why parents keep their phones on, Rebecca. In case of emergencies." She rushed to examine Lily's cast. "Oh my God, her arm is broken. How long does she need this thing?" I filled her in on the 6-week recovery timeline. Rebecca listened with increasing distress. "Well, I guess you'll need to help me with her care for the next few weeks. She can't do things one-handed and I have commitments I can't cancel." I took a deep breath. "Rebecca, I came today because Lily needed help. But the day-to-day care during recovery is your responsibility as her mother." Her eyes went wide. "Are you kidding? She has a broken arm. She needs help with everything. I can't do all that alone." "Then you need to adjust your schedule. That's what parents do." She stared at me. What kind of monster refuses to help a child with a broken arm? The kind of best friend who has appropriate boundaries. Partners help raise children together. Friends offer advice and maybe occasional assistance. You chose friendship. Rebecca's meltdown in the parking lot was spectacular enough that security came over. She screamed about how I was abandoning both her and Lily, how cruel and heartless I was. Through it all, I remained calm. That's when Vanessa pulled into the parking lot, still in her scrubs. She'd texted asking if I needed support, and I'd said yes. Watching Rebecca's face as she realized I had someone else there for me was the moment everything truly shifted. I'd run into Vanessa 2 weeks earlier at a coffee shop near my townhouse. Rebecca's younger sister by 3 years, she worked as a pediatric nurse at Denver General. Where Rebecca was all flowing blonde hair and bohemian aesthetic, Vanessa had dark hair in a practical ponytail, minimal makeup, and scrubs with cartoon characters. "Tyler," she'd said, touching my shoulder. "I thought that was you. How've you been?" We'd ended up sitting together for what was supposed to be quick catch-up but turned into 2 hours. I learned that Vanessa had been estranged from Rebecca for 6 months after their last major blow-up. "What happened between you two?" I asked. Vanessa's laugh was bitter. "I lent her $3,000 last April. She said she needed it for a business investment. Swore she'd pay me back within 3 months. I could guess how that ended. The investment didn't pan out? The investment was fake. She used it to fund a 10-day yoga retreat in Sedona. Posted about it constantly while I was picking up extra shifts to cover the gap in my savings. When I confronted her, she told me I was being materialistic and didn't understand investing in personal growth. We started talking about family dynamics, about how Rebecca had always been the golden child while Vanessa was the responsible one expected to clean up messes. "My parents still think the sun rises and sets on Rebecca," Vanessa said. "She's the free spirit, the creative one. Meanwhile, I'm just boring Vanessa who works too much." I found myself defending her. There's nothing boring about saving children's lives. That's actually meaningful work. She looked up with surprise, then gratitude. "Rebecca always said you were too practical." She made it sound like a criticism, but honestly, after watching her bounce from one half-baked dream to another, practical sounds pretty damn good. We exchanged numbers before leaving, ostensibly to stay in touch as friends, but I felt something shift between us. Over the next 2 weeks, Vanessa and I texted regularly. Nothing inappropriate, just conversations about our days. She told me about the 7-year-old leukemia patient who'd beaten the odds, and I could hear genuine joy in her words. I told her about setting boundaries with Rebecca, and she responded with encouragement. When Lily broke her arm and I texted Vanessa from the hospital, she responded immediately asking if I needed anything. She showed up 40 minutes later with a stuffed penguin for Lily and coffee for me. "You're doing the right thing," she'd said quietly. "It's not fair to you or Lily to maintain this pseudo-parent relationship when Rebecca could cut you off completely whenever she feels like it." So when Rebecca had her parking lot meltdown and Vanessa appeared, the contrast couldn't have been more stark. "What is she doing here?" Rebecca demanded, pointing at her sister. "I asked her to come," I said simply. "I needed support." Rebecca's face went through several expressions before landing on outrage. "Support? From her? She's my sister. She's supposed to be on my side." Vanessa's voice was level. "I'm not on anyone's side, Rebecca. I'm here because Tyler's friend needed someone, and unlike you, I answer my phone during emergencies." The shot landed perfectly. "This is unbelievable. My daughter breaks her arm and suddenly you two are best friends? How long has this been going on?" "We had coffee 2 weeks ago and have been texting as friends," I said. "You know, the kind of thing actual friends do." Rebecca looked between us with dawning suspicion. "You want to date my sister? This whole boundary thing is because you're moving on with Vanessa." I could have denied it, but something made me want to let her sit with her assumptions. "What I do in my personal life isn't your concern anymore. We're best friends, remember? Best friends don't owe each other explanations about their romantic interests." We left Rebecca standing in that parking lot. I carried sleeping Lily to Rebecca's car while Vanessa grabbed the discharge papers. Before Rebecca drove away, Vanessa leaned into the car window. "Take care of your daughter, Becca. She needs her mom to actually be present." The drive home was quiet. "I'm sorry you got dragged into that drama," I said finally. "I'm not," Vanessa replied. "Someone needed to tell Rebecca the truth. Besides, you are my friend, and friends show up." Something warm settled in my chest, something that felt like possibility. Rebecca's lifestyle blogger dreams crashed spectacularly over the next few months. Without my financial cushion, she couldn't afford her boutique gym membership, the designer workout clothes, or the organic meal delivery service. Her Instagram shifted from aspirational posts to awkward selfies in a fluorescent-lit basement gym, and her engagement numbers dropped. The real breakdown came with Lily's broken arm and Rebecca's inability to handle single parenting without support. The school called because Lily was running a fever and needed pickup. Rebecca was 90 minutes away at a networking lunch and had to leave her important meeting. Her Instagram story that night was passive-aggressive about sacrifices, accompanied by a photo of Lily sleeping with her cast displayed for sympathy. Then there was the babysitter situation. Rebecca suddenly realized her freedom to attend evening events had been entirely dependent on my willingness to watch Lily without compensation. Professional childcare ran $15 to $25 per hour. "I need you to watch Lily this Saturday," she texted. "I have a brand collaboration opportunity. Just 4 hours." I was at Vanessa's apartment helping her assemble a bookshelf when the message came through. Vanessa read over my shoulder and shook her head. She really doesn't get it. "Sorry, I have plans Saturday," I responded. "Have you tried babysitting services?" The response came in all capitals expressing disbelief that I would prioritize plans over helping with Lily. I didn't respond. 2 months after Rebecca had announced she wanted to be best friends forever, I was sitting in Vanessa's apartment when my phone lit up with a call from Rebecca's mother. "Tyler, we need to talk about Rebecca," Margaret said. "She's struggling and I think you need to step up and help her." I took a deep breath, ready to establish boundaries with yet another person. The conversation lasted 20 minutes and covered every manipulation tactic. I listened politely, responded with calm rationality, and ultimately told her that Rebecca was an adult who'd made her choices. What I didn't expect was the effect on Vanessa. When I hung up, she set down her highlighter and looked at me. "You know what I love about you?" she said, and my heart flipped because we hadn't used that word before. "What?" "You have boundaries. Actual, healthy boundaries that you enforce even when people try to make you feel guilty. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Over the next few weeks, Vanessa and I grew closer in ways that felt natural and right. We went to a Rockies game and she actually watched instead of scrolling social media. We cooked dinner together and she taught me to properly dice vegetables. One Saturday, We ran into Lily and Rebecca at Washington Park. Lily came running over with uncomplicated joy. "Uncle Tyler! Miss Vanessa!" She threw herself at me with her good arm. I caught her, looking at Rebecca frozen on the path. "Hey Lilybug. How's the arm?" "It's okay. I got everyone at school to sign it." Rebecca approached slowly, guarded. "Tyler. Vanessa. Funny running into you two here. Together." Vanessa's response was warm. "Hi Becca. Lily, I love your cast color." "Are you Uncle Tyler's girlfriend now?" Lily asked with devastating child logic. The awkwardness hung heavy. Before Rebecca could respond, Vanessa knelt to Lily's level. "Tyler and I are very good friends. We like spending time together." "Like Mommy wanted to be best friends with Uncle Tyler?" "Something like that," I said, meeting Rebecca's eyes. That night, Vanessa cooked us dinner at my place for the first time since Rebecca moved out. After dinner, we ended up on the couch with a movie neither of us were really watching. "Can I ask you something?" Vanessa said. "When did you know Rebecca wasn't the one?" I thought about it. I think I knew for a while, but I was too invested to admit it. Sunk cost fallacy, but with emotions. "Painfully relatable," she said. "I dated a guy who told me I should switch to part-time work after graduation so I'd have more time for him. I was out the door before he finished." I laughed, pulling her closer. "Good for you. I'm really glad we ran into each other at that coffee shop," I said eventually. Vanessa tilted her head to look at me. "Me too. Best accidental encounter of my life. You want to know something crazy? I think I'm falling for you." The words hung there, vulnerable and true. Then she smiled. "That's not crazy at all. I'm falling for you too." 3 months into our relationship, life had settled into a sustainable rhythm. I was working on a major fintech project. Vanessa was being considered for a promotion. We'd stopped pretending we were just friends and started openly dating. Then Lily's school called on a Wednesday afternoon. I was debugging code when my phone rang with the school's number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mr. Brennan, this is Nurse Phillips. We've been trying to reach Rebecca for the past hour. Lily fell during recess and we believe she may have broken her arm again, the same one. We've called an ambulance to Denver General." My stomach dropped. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I found Lily in the same pediatric emergency area where we'd been 3 months earlier. When she saw me, relief flooded her face. "Uncle Tyler, you came. It hurt so bad." The next 4 hours were a repeat, X-rays confirming a fracture in the identical location, watching Lily be brave while they set it and applied a pink cast. Through it all, I kept trying Rebecca's phone with no answer. Finally, at 5:30, Rebecca burst through the doors in full makeup and an outfit suggesting she'd been somewhere important. "Where is she? What happened? Why didn't anyone call me?" I stood up carefully. They called 47 times. I called 16 times. "Where were you?" Her face flushed. "I was at a crucial business meeting. My phone died and I didn't realize until it was over." By keeping your phone charged when you're the sole parent of a 6-year-old. This is your daughter, Rebecca. Your responsibility. She glanced at sleeping Lily. "Well, you were here. You handled it." The casual dismissal snapped something. The big deal is that I'm not her parent. I have no legal authority, no right to make medical decisions. I'm here out of love for that little girl, but you're taking advantage of that love. A doctor approached. "Are you Lily's parents?" "I'm her mother," Rebecca said quickly. "He's just a friend who was available." The dismissal stung. After the doctor left with discharge instructions, Rebecca finally acknowledged reality. "I suppose you're going to expect me to thank you." "I don't expect anything. I did this for Lily, not you." She studied me. "You're really done with me, aren't you?" "I care about Lily's well-being. But yes, I'm done being your safety net." That's when Vanessa pulled into the parking lot in her scrubs. She'd texted asking if I needed support. Watching Rebecca's face as Vanessa walked over was the moment Rebecca realized this wasn't casual dating. "You called her? To my daughter's emergency?" "I'm here to support Tyler," Vanessa said calmly, greeting Lily first before acknowledging Rebecca. "This doesn't concern you," Rebecca snapped. Vanessa's response was measured. I'm here to support Tyler, who spent 4 hours caring for your daughter while you were unreachable. And actually, Becca, I am part of this family. We're sisters. Rebecca looked between us, and I saw the exact moment she realized this was real. How long have you two been doing this behind my back? We've been dating for about 3 months, I said calmly. There's nothing behind your back. You ended our relationship, remember? 2 weeks after Lily's second broken arm, I pulled the trigger on selling the townhouse. She'd missed 3 consecutive mortgage payments and the bank was threatening foreclosure. I texted Rebecca asking her to meet me at the coffee shop. She responded with suspicion but agreed to Saturday morning at 10. What I didn't tell her was that Vanessa would be joining us. Saturday morning arrived with perfect Colorado weather. Vanessa and I drove together, and I felt the weight of the small box in my jacket pocket. We'd picked out the ring 3 days earlier, a simple solitaire Vanessa had fallen in love with. I'd proposed that same night with no elaborate production, just the two of us and a question I knew she'd say yes to. She'd said yes while crying and laughing. We arrived early and claimed a table near the window. Rebecca walked in 15 minutes late wearing oversized sunglasses and performative suffering. Her eyes landed on Vanessa immediately and her body went rigid. You brought her to our private conversation about our house? I gestured to the empty chair. Sit down, Rebecca. This involves both of you. She sat reluctantly, sunglasses firmly in place. I slid a folder across the table containing real estate listings and market analysis. I've contacted a real estate agent about listing the house. Based on comparable sales, we're looking at around $390,000, which would leave us each with about $65,000 after paying off the mortgage. Rebecca stared at the folder. You can't just decide to sell without discussing it with me. I've been discussing it for 3 months. You've missed 3 payments and the bank is threatening foreclosure. She pushed the folder back. I can't move right now. Do you have any idea how disruptive that would be to Lily's life? Lily's well-being is exactly why we need to do this. She needs stability, which means you need secure housing you can actually afford. Rebecca's jaw tightened. So I'm just supposed to find a new place within a few weeks? You have about 60 days from listing to closing, and you'll have $65,000. That's more than most people have when starting over. She sat in furious silence. Fine, sell the house. But don't expect me to make this easy. I don't expect anything except signed paperwork and cooperation with showings. That's when Vanessa reached over and took my hand. Rebecca noticed immediately, her eyes dropping to our joined hands. Oh my God. You two are serious. I met her eyes steadily. We are. Which brings us to the second reason we asked you here. Vanessa pulled her left hand from her lap and placed it on the table, the engagement ring catching the sunlight. Rebecca's face went through shock, disbelief, anger, devastation. You're engaged, she whispered. To my sister. I am. I proposed 3 days ago. We wanted you to hear it from us. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Rebecca exploded. We were together for 3 years and you're engaged to someone else after 3 months? We dated for 3 years. You ended that relationship because you wanted to pursue personal growth. What I do after that is none of your business. She turned on Vanessa with fury. And you're supposed to be my sister. How could you steal my boyfriend? Vanessa's response was measured. I didn't steal anyone. Tyler was single when we started dating, single because you dumped him. You knew how I felt about him. You went after him anyway, like some vulture. I actually laughed. Leftovers? Rebecca, you threw me away. You literally said you wanted to be best friends. You don't get to be angry that I found someone who actually wants to be with me. Her eyes were wild now. This is revenge. You're punishing me by taking everything, my house, my sister, my stability. You never had your sister, Vanessa said quietly. You cut me out 6 months before Tyler and I even reconnected. Rebecca stood abruptly. You two deserve each other. Two boring, conventional people who think stability is a virtue instead of a prison. We plan to, I said. And Rebecca, I genuinely hope you find what you're looking for. But that's not going to involve me anymore. She grabbed her purse. I need one thing. I need to know that Lily can still see you sometimes. The request caught me off guard. I glanced at Vanessa, who nodded. If you're open to it, we'd like to maintain a relationship with Lily. Not as her parents, but as family. Vanessa is her aunt. But that only works if you're willing to co-parent respectfully. Rebecca's face crumpled, anger giving way to grief. I screwed this up so badly. I had everything and I threw it away because I thought I deserved something better. You deserved to pursue what you wanted, Vanessa said with surprising compassion. You just didn't think through the consequences. Rebecca wiped her eyes. Will you at least wait until after the holidays to get married? Give Lily time to adjust. I exchanged a look with Vanessa. We haven't set a date yet, but we'll keep Lily's adjustment in mind. Rebecca nodded, defeated. I should go. She left looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Through the window, I watched her sit in her car with her head on the steering wheel. That was harder than I expected, Vanessa said. Are you okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find it true. I think I am. 6 months later, I stood in my parents' backyard watching Vanessa laugh with my mother over wedding planning, and I felt profound contentment. The ceremony was scheduled for late September, just immediate family and close friends. Lily was going to be our flower girl, a compromise Rebecca had reluctantly agreed to after her parents intervened. The townhouse had sold in 3 weeks for $15,000 over asking. I'd used my portion as a down payment on a 3-bedroom house near Vanessa's hospital, a place with a backyard for the dog we were planning to adopt. Rebecca had taken her share and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, finally accepting that her lifestyle needed to match her actual income. The change in Rebecca over those 6 months was remarkable. She'd gotten a full-time administrative job at a corporate wellness company. Her Instagram had shifted from aspirational lifestyle content to honest posts about single motherhood, and ironically, her follower count had grown. She was attending therapy, working through childhood issues about self-worth and need for external validation. Her parents had stopped enabling her financially after the engagement forced them to confront their role in her dysfunction. Most significantly, she'd been forced to actually show up as a mother. She kept her phone charged during school hours, attended conferences, started cooking actual meals. Lily was thriving in ways that suggested consistent parenting mattered more than financial abundance. Vanessa and I had maintained our promise to stay involved in Lily's life, having her over for weekend visits once a month. Lily had adjusted with resilience, enjoying having Aunt Vanessa as a stable presence. The wedding itself was perfect in its simplicity. Vanessa wore an elegant, understated dress. Lily took her flower girl duties seriously, scattering rose petals with mathematical precision. Rebecca attended as Vanessa's sister, managing to be gracious throughout. During the reception, Rebecca approached me. Can I talk to you for a minute? I followed her to a quiet corner. I owe you an apology. Not just for how I ended our relationship, but for how I treated you during it. I used you, Tyler. I convinced myself it was your job to make my life easier. That wasn't fair. The apology caught me off guard. Thank you. It means a lot to hear you acknowledge it. She smiled sadly. Therapy is expensive and humbling. I've been working through why I sabotage good things. Turns out growing up with parents who told me I was special without teaching me to work for anything created problematic patterns. I nodded, appreciating her self-awareness. I'm glad you're doing that work. Lily talks about you and Vanessa all the time. She's happier with you too in her life, and I'm grateful you're willing to maintain that relationship. We love her. She's a great kid. Rebecca glanced at where Vanessa was dancing with Lily. Vanessa's good for you. Better than I ever was. She matches your values, your vision. I was so busy trying to make you exciting that I never appreciated who you actually were. You weren't wrong for wanting excitement. We just wanted different things. I'm not looking right now, she admitted. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not defining myself through a relationship or curating an image for strangers. But maybe someday. We stood in comfortable silence. Thank you for being good to Lily. You're going to be an amazing husband and father someday. She hugged me briefly, closure rather than attachment, then returned to her table while I went to reclaim my wife. Vanessa came into my arms naturally. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect." She apologized, we had closure, and now I get to spend the rest of the evening celebrating marrying the most incredible woman I've ever met. We danced until my feet hurt, ate too much cake, and laughed with genuine friends. When the reception ended, we drove to our house, the one we'd chosen together, and I felt profound satisfaction of knowing I'd built something real. The greatest revenge against Rebecca wasn't hatred or bitterness. It was simply living well, building the stable, loving partnership she'd rejected. She'd wanted to stay best friends forever while keeping me as her safety net, and I'd agreed completely, then showed her exactly what friendship looked like without partnership benefits. Now I had an actual partner, someone who showed up consistently, communicated honestly, and invested in our future together. 3 months after the wedding, Vanessa discovered she was pregnant. We told Lily she was going to be a big cousin, and she was thrilled. Rebecca sent a congratulatory text that seemed genuine, along with an offer of hand-me-down baby items. When our daughter was born the following spring, Lily was one of the first visitors, bringing a stuffed animal she'd picked out with her allowance. Rebecca came too, briefly, bringing flowers before leaving to give us space. She looked healthier than I'd seen her in years, grounded in ways that suggested she was finally learning to build a life based on reality. I never regretted the 3 years with Rebecca, because they taught me exactly what I didn't want and helped me recognize what I did want when Vanessa came along. Every crisis I eventually stopped solving, every boundary I finally enforced, every manipulation I calmly deflected, all of it prepared me to appreciate someone who didn't require constant emotional labor. The best revenge is peace, and I found mine in a 3-bedroom house with a backyard, a wife who paid her own bills and showed up when she said she would, a daughter who'd never doubt she was wanted, and a stepdaughter-adjacent relationship with a little girl who deserved better. Rebecca had said we were better as friends, and I'd agreed completely. Then I'd shown her that friends don't owe each other mortgages, emergency babysitting, or unconditional emotional support. Friends have boundaries, expectations, and reciprocity. She'd wanted friendship without those constraints, which meant she'd really wanted a safety net while she explored other options. What she got instead was exactly what she asked for, and the education that came with it cost her everything she'd taken for granted. Meanwhile, I built something better with someone who actually wanted to build it with me, and that turned out to be the happiest ending I could have imagined.